apologize first because you're going to see these tears. They're real. I mean, it hasn't stopped for about 20 minutes. You know, life's funny. You can do it all right. You can do it all right. Still not get the reward. That's the message. They have one off-court issue this year. Not one. Not one call after 10 p.m. That wasn't just a normal dude calling about some basketball stuff. Not one call from the police. Not one call from campus security. Not one call from housing about any of our guys doing anything off the floor. Probably the first time in my entire 20 years of coaching that's ever happened. Told you guys to sleep really well. We'll sleep like tonight.
Where do most of the tears come from, the emotion?
It's because it's what I feel these guys deserve. You know, I wrote on the board a big line that the starting point right here was 3-29. Got the job about a year ago. And over here, all the way across the whiteboard, wrote 18-14. And if a year ago, we were to actually sit here and say you could put a team together at Green Bay and go from 3-29 to 18-14, you would have either been laughed off the stage, he would have called you a crazy lunatic, or you might have been called a miracle worker. And this team is nothing short of miraculous. And I told him my favorite part wasn't the fact that it was 3-29 to 18-14. It was everything in between. The ride these guys took us on, and that this program will continue to go on, is strictly because of the foundation that these guys laid. And I think there's a lot of power in people who make choices, real choices. And these young men made the choice to come to Green Bay at 3-29, and they continually made the choice every single day to do the right thing over and over and over again, to show up, to do the right work, to serve each other. And then what they got was one of the greatest turnarounds in college basketball history. Not the greatest, but one of the greatest turnarounds in college basketball history. That's what they got for it. And they didn't get a championship, and they didn't get a ring. They didn't get a trophy. But they got to participate in something special, bigger than themselves. And the overriding mission of our program will always be you have to believe in something bigger than yourself. Because the program has to have deeper seated meaning than just winning and losing games. And if it's always about the ledger, the left or the right, winning and losing, then I don't ever want to do this. It's not why I coach. If it's about those guys up there, what they gave and what they will give, then that's why I do it. I told you, my favorite part's about creating teams. Favorite part about this is creating teams. And that team right there, while it may not ever get inducted to the Hall of Fame, it should be a Hall of Fame team for what they did. Because there's just not many teams that go through a season like this and do the things they've done with the standard that was so low. And I felt joy. I felt pain. I felt gratitude. I felt a lot of sorrow. And I had people coming up to me just saying thank you. And it was like one of the coolest moments is just a guy just walked by today and just looked at me and said thank you. And I was like, yeah, that's how I felt in the locker room. All of our coaches just looked at these young men and said thank you. Because they deserve the respect, the gratitude, the love. And the saddest part about every year is this team will no longer be together. Every year. Teams disband, and you're never going to have the same team. Guys are going to graduate and move on, and you're never going to have the same team. But you wish you could have a team like this forever. And there's only two types of pain you could feel right now. Pain of discipline and the pain of regret. And they've had a lot of discipline this entire year to be who they are. But they'll also feel some regret. Because at the end of every year, you feel regret about things that you should have done differently or could have done differently or how you would have prepared or things you would have changed. And that's coaches and players alike. And the regret, in my opinion, when you have a little bit of that is what spurs on the next level of growth. Is because you try not to ever feel that again.
Sonny, What'd you get from Noah and just the trouble you had stopping the penetration and the stuff at the rim tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to talk basketball right now, but it's a basketball game. It's a basketball question. It's a great question. What you got from Noah was heart, grit, love for his teammates and his program. I don't think people understand how hard it is to come back from high ankle sprains in 2 weeks. What him and Rudy and Will have done this year in their injuries. Only people who really love to compete do that. There's NBA guys who sprain an ankle and they'll be out for 5 months. It's like load management, 5 months. There's other guys in college basketball who just not play. They don't want to play because they don't really love it. And so what you saw out there was you saw guys gritting through it. And then you also saw, like, for us, weaknesses that we have to address going into next year, which is we're going to have to defend the basketball at a higher level. And as much as I don't like talking about what's forward right now or what we need to do, but that's something that we have to become better at. Thought we have really good team defense, but when we get stretched out and we have to play individual basketball players in one-on-one situations and they isolate us and pick on us a little bit, we're going to have to become better individual defenders. You have to guard your yard. If you it's one thing to play the game of basketball on the offensive side, but you have to defend your position as well. And so for us, like, we're going to have to become better individual defenders, or else we're going to have to really scheme a different style of defense that allows us to finish the season stronger than 1-5. And that's all part of the process, to be honest with you. And so I'm looking forward to that challenge in the offseason, and I know our guys are too.
What was kind of the reactions from the guys in the locker room? I know probably.
Not a dry eye. Not one dry eye in there. Staff, players. I mean, it hurts. And what I love that. Like I told them the minute I walked in there, I said, you need to feel this. My least favorite time of the year is this time of the year because I know it's about to be done. But it's also one of my favorite times of the year because, like, you get to let out all the stuff that has been going on for an entire year. You don't get to show vulnerability a lot of times and weakness as a leader or as a player in the locker room or somebody who's been counted on. You don't get to show those tears because you got to continually go on to the next thing. But when you get to exercise the demons, as they say, and you just let it out, like, you realize that you'll sit back and think about how special this was, and you'll cry because you're so grateful and thankful for the people in that locker room. I've been in locker rooms before where nobody cried. It's a bad locker room to be in. It's one of those locker rooms that you wish you weren't in. And this was not one of those locker rooms. I know that. And our thing is we check out after we break it down and we check out. We usually fist bump when we check out because we got to move on. But today we hugged. And we're going to hug in that locker room. And we'll always hug in that locker room at the end of every year. Because sometimes all you need is a hug, And right now, there's a lot of people in that locker room who need a hug.
Sonny, how hurt was Noah playing tonight?
He won't tell you. He won't tell you he was hurt. But, I mean, here's a guy who hadn't been able to do any cardio for 2 weeks because you can't strain it. So hadn't been able to do any cardio, maybe besides getting in a pool. So to go out there and play 33 minutes, 34 minutes, 27 points, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. And, I mean, that's a real guy. That's a real dude. That's a player of the year. And, like, I know there's other players who wouldn't have played in these games. He did everything he possibly could in his power to get back for this night tonight. And you can do everything right, still not get the reward. This is the game we chose.
I don't know, how you think, but, like, the way the season ended, how long is it going to sting for you? Like,
I mean, we could have won every game except the last one. It'll sting us just as long as this will sting. I mean, at the end of the day, there's one team that gets to walk away with a championship, and I'm not counting the CIT or the CBI. Right? So, like, there's one team that gets to walk away with the championship, and they're going to walk away happy. And I think at times, like the Villanova shot in North Carolina, like, man. I remember when Marcus Page said he still hadn't it'd been like 5 or 6 years, he still hadn't watched it rerun of the national championship game. I mean, it'll sting all the way until we get to tip it off next year. But that's the cool part about this is like you just get to carry these little, weird distortions of reality around. Like I'll be walking down the street and I'll see somebody and I'll feel like I got to guard them one-on-one, just to stop them from getting to the stop sign. Like, watch out, where are you going? Like, I got to do a better job guarding my yard. I'll be out there with the neighbors. John will be right next door and Zach's next door, and I'll try to walk in my yard and I'll got to guard my yard. I'll try to put a fence up or something like that. It'll be a weird summer. People trying to walk around me. Tell you, I'll like body check your ass right into the next yard. Okay, you're gonna guard mine. But that's what my off season will be like. By guarding my yard.
What kind of foundation do you think you guys laid in year one? I don't know if it's too soon to give a good answer, but
no, I mean I can tell you there's a standard that's been set. There's a standard for how you treat your body and how you recover from injuries, which Cam Green has done a phenomenal job at helping set that standard for recovery. That's awesome. There's a standard for how we act off the floor. There's other programs that really probably don't have standards like that, but we do. And we don't do bonehead stuff off the floor. But at some point, it'll happen in our program, and we'll have to address that. But the standard's been set that like we don't do bonehead things off the floor. And kids are going to be kids and are going to make some mistakes every once in a while. But for this year, haven't had that yet. And so there's a standard of how we conduct ourselves in the community. There's a standard of how we give and serve in the community. There's a standard of how we show up with energy, effort, enthusiasm every single day in our program. These guys have all set that standard high for the next people to come in. I said, when you look at 329 and these guys chose us, I said, what's it going to be like when we recruit this year? And someone comes in and like, 18 and 14, we got freaking great documentary crew here following us around. You got all the content, you got all the video stuff, and we're probably going to get an upgrade and some resources around here, and next thing you know, like these guys made it better for the next guys to come in. And the next guys that come in, they're going to think this is all sweet. And I'm going to have to remind the guys that come in, bro, you didn't do this. These cats did. These cats built this. So what they say, that goes. And that is culture. Because culture is not what you say, it's what you do. And what they have done all year, they're going to have a real high bar for the next cats coming in here. So the next cats that come into this program, they better level up, bro. Better level up. This thing ain't gonna be for the weak of heart. And they better be able to guard their yard as well.
Sonny, what makes you confident that what this year's team achieved, that you guys can continue to build on it next year?
It's who we are, right? It's all encompassing. So you got a great community. You got great players who are about the right stuff. I got a phenomenal staff. I got a phenomenal support staff. I got an administration that cares about who we are and what we're doing. And when you have all those things that check, like they pretty much make it really hard for you to try to lose. So you're going to have to screw some things up at a high level, or you have to get it really unlucky, which don't want that. But there's a belief, right, that you have to have in what you're doing. If I were to come up here and be like, well, guys, 18 to 14 is good at year one, probably never going to get like that ever again. If I were to come up here and say that, you guys would be like, this guy's nuts. He's crazy. And I just think that there's still an upward trajectory that you have to have every single year. And to be honest with you, like 14 losses is a lot of losses, right? And you want to be better. I'm not saying it's going to be great every year, but I know this, the standard is the standard, and we're going to continually raise the bar. And when you raise the bar, you lose the losers. And you raise the bar, you keep the winners, right? That's what you want. And so for us, we're always going to we're probably going to over talk about how hard this is going to be so that the right people always come in. Because if you just talk about success and it's going to be easy and you're going to win, like one, it's a lie, but two, you're going to attract the wrong people who are about easy and not hard. And so for us, like, we're just going to continually, flip over rocks and look for dudes who want hard.
When it comes to like your past stops, how fun was this year compared to, maybe some other years that you coached?
Amazing. I was really, really great rides. Like when we went to the national championship 2017-18, 36-4. That was a cooler group of guys that I've ever been around. Like, cooler group of guys. Lost on a last-second shot. I had a chance to win it. When we went to the NCAA tournament in Wyoming in 21-22, that's this cooler group of guys I've been around. No Reynolds was on that team. I guess it's some cool dudes. This year's team, it's unspeakable what it was like showing up every single day, knowing that all I had to do was coach, teach, lead, mentor, and not have to push or pull or drag or carry or find some other way to get it out of you. They owned it. And that's the joy in this journey for me. Like, that's all the joy I ever needed right there, was just showing up every single day. And so it is by far, as a head coach, it is by far one of the most special groups I've ever been a part of. Just because of the resurrection.
Good. I got one more just to end. Sonny, I know you want to still be playing, and you talk about how important like your family is. Will it be kind of nice to be dad and get, not saying get back to that, but I'm just saying and be dad?
I told our guys in the locker room, you'll make me cry, Kyle. But I told our guys in the locker room that, I hope they get to marry somebody who chooses them when they're 3 and 29. Because when you find the right wife, you find the right partner in life, and she chooses you, whether you're 3 and 29 or 29 and 3, she chooses you every day. My wife does that. My kids don't care about my record. They don't care if we won or lost. They choose me every day. Grace learned how to ride a bike without training wheels, like 2 days ago. I got to be home for that. Special. I don't miss many moments. But I'm going to get really bored at home. I'm just going to be honest with you, all right? Like, my wife's going to kick me out probably in a couple days because she's going to be like, all right, you need to go on the road, you need to recruit, you need to do something, you need to get the hell out of here. But I hope our guys get to experience that at some point, that what real love is. And our brothers, man, in that locker room, they chose us. And they chose each other all year long at 3 and 29. And I just told them, man, continue to search for the diamonds in the rough, the ones who accept you when you're down. And if you do that, like, you'll have a really happy life the rest of your life. So I'm excited to just spend some quality time with the fam. Skywalker's potty training right now. So they probably need me around the crib so he doesn't piss all over the floor every day. All right, so that's going to be a fun challenge for me as well.